Happy New Year's Eve! Does your tier tray look a little bit empty now that you've taken down all your Christmas decorations? Well, no worries. Stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I have for you 3 super cute, adorable, I just love these ideas of DIYs that you can make to bring winter wonderland into your home. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very end and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So, let's get started. Here is a quick sneak peek into the 3 projects that we are going to be working on today, and I'm super excited, and these are so simple and easy, you guys. And that brings us to project number 1. Here are all the supplies that you're going to need for this project. Some fairy lights of some sort, a pine cone, one of these little cloches from Dollar Tree, some berry picks you can get from Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and these little birds. Now the birds I bought in the miniature section at Hobby Lobby. So we're just going to cut off some of these berries and a few of these little greenery picks and stick them inside the pine cone all around. I just used hot glue. It seemed to be the easiest solution, and you can put as much or as little of this as you want in there. Now, the inspiration for this piece came from a floral ad that I saw, and it was almost, I think, the exact same cloche that I made. And they wanted $45 for theirs, and we can make ours for so much cheaper than that. Once you've gotten all your berry picks in there, we are going to take our fairy lights and wrap them around. Now on my cloche, I chose to repaint the base a coppery color because I didn't want a black base. But you can choose to leave it black or paint it at your discretion to match your decor. Once I've gotten the fairy lights in there and secured the way I want them, then we will move on to adding a little bit of snow on here. I'm going to use some puff paint, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Maybe it's not puff paint, maybe it's glue and a little bit of Epsom salts. Whatever suits your fancy, whatever you have, or you can skip the snow step altogether. You can add as little or as much of this as you want. Just depends on what you want to see in your decor. I love the little snowy pieces, so I added quite a bit. Then you just grab some hot glue. Make sure you've got enough to secure your pine cone down. And then I added a few little bits around the edge just to kind of cover up that pine cone bottom and add a little bit more to it. Of course, you want to glue your cardinal onto the top, then secure your cloche top on top of that. And here it is, all complete. I love this so much. I just think it is such a stunning piece and hardly cost any money at all. What do you guys think? Let me know below. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and tell you how much I appreciate you, whether this is your first visit or you're a regular subscriber, and y'all know who you are. I am so grateful that you choose to spend time crafting with me. Now, if this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Give today's video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Now, let's get back to crafting. And that brings us to project number 2. I love the whimsy of these little birds. So I am just going to grab some of these wood pile pieces. I picked this because it's got lots of different shapes and sizes, and I wanted the round balls out of it. And then we're also going to use some of these wooden eggs that I had left over from Easter. Now, if you don't have wooden eggs, you could always use the plastic ones and just paint them to your heart's content. Now I've grabbed some of this wire and we are going to bend it to make little bird feet. Now I know bird feet typically have 3 or 4 toes, but ours is only going to have 2. I think that's enough to keep him upright and standing. And then we're just going to use these little jewelry pliers that I bought at the Dollar Tree and pinch that all together to make the bird feet. Originally, I was going to leave this silver color, but then I decided to spray paint it black. So if you want to skip that step, then go ahead and get black wire. And you want something stiff enough that it's going to stand up, but not so stiff that you can't bend it. So keep that in mind. And I believe this is a gauge 16 or 18 wire. And then I'm going to make a second bird foot to match the first, and then I will make 2 more sets for each of the other 2 birds. Once I've gotten that all done, I am going to snip 3 little pieces, and that's going to be the piece that we connect our head to our base with. And the beauty of using these wooden eggs, is that we can pull out our handy dandy little drill there, grab the right drill bit that fits the size of this wire, and we will drill a hole in the egg and also in the round circle for the head. Now those little hats there I got from Hobby Lobby in their Christmas tiny tree section. I guess they were supposed to be little ornaments, but they were the perfect size for these birds. So there, once we get our little holes all drilled, now you can choose to glue this or not glue it. I did not glue it for a couple of reasons. One, I just didn't. And 2, I wanted it to be able to be movable so that we can move that head around and twizzle it any way we want to allow our bird's expressions to come out. Then we're going to drill 2 more holes in the bottom of our egg, and that will be where his legs and feet go. Isn't that just adorable? Then I grabbed some Modelite clay, and we are going to make 3 beaks out of that Modelite clay. And once it's dry, which takes about 48 hours or so, we are going to paint that. Then I grabbed my paint marker, and we are just going to throw on 3 little pairs of eyes and a white paint marker to add a little bit of highlight in there. Then I grabbed some of this Dollar Tree felt and just cut a little strip of it and cut that in half. And we're going to use this for a couple of little scarves around their necks. That hides that wire and gives them a little bit more character. Adds to that wintry touch. Once you've gotten that all done and their hats back on their heads, then I am going to grab some little scrapbook paper. Now these I bought at Hobby Lobby on clearance, and we are going to make tail feathers out of the straight red one. And so I cut a strip and folded it into thirds and made sure that all of my strips were the same, so all of their tail feathers were about the same, and folded each of those into thirds. And then the pattern scrapbook paper we are going to use to cut out their wings. So I just grabbed a piece of scissors, and I did kind of a little oval-ish with the little points down at the bottom cut. And then we'll add a little bit of hot glue onto the end there and lay those out into little tail feathers. I did that for all 3 sets. Then I cut a scrap piece of cardboard into a little kind of egg wing shape and cut out wings for each of them. Then we're going to grab our pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly and give those beaks a nice little orange chalk paint color. Once we've gotten that nice and dry, we'll add a dab of hot glue and put those onto their faces. And aren't they just so stinking cute? I love, love, love these. And I was sure that you guys would love them too. here they are, all complete, sitting in their nice little snowbank, and I could just bend their legs any kind of way I wanted to give them a little whimsy, a little bit of character, and to make sure that they can stand upright on their own. What do you guys think? Let me know below. And that brings us to project number 3, our final project of the day. I love these too. So I grabbed some of these little pumpkin forms I had bought on Amazon, and I picked the ones that were easy to cut off the bottom and create a flat base. Then they weren't as thick as I wanted them, so I grabbed some of that wood glue by Super Glue that you can buy at the Dollar Tree and glued them together, and then used my little Dollar Tree clamps to hold them together until they were dry, making sure that they're all even up all the way around. Once I've gotten that done and they are dry, then I'm going to take these outside and I am going to slice off the bottoms. Now, if you don't have an outside saw, then you can use your miter saw and box and just trim off the bottom of those. And so then they become caps instead of pumpkins, and they will sit flat on their own. Now I chose to use moss colored paint because that kind of goes with my decor, and I am going to paint one pumpkin hat the moss color all by itself, just the way it comes, and I'm painting both sides and all the edges. And then I will take that moss colored chalk paint along with some ivory colored chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm going to mix the two together, kind of diluting the color, and that's what we'll paint our second hat with. Now when we get to painting those mittens, I will actually add some more of the moss colored chalk paint back into the color and make it just a little bit darker. And that way we have 3 shades of the same color, and that goes really well on my tiered tray. Now just a note about those little mittens, they came from Michael's in their Christmas clearance wood section. They were, I want to say they were 70% off, so I got them for about, 60 cents, 70 cents, something like that. And I thought that was a heck of a buy on those little mittens. Now, if you can't find those, I'm sure you could just make yourself a really thick cardboard piece, or maybe cut one out with some balsa wood on your Cricut, if you have a Cricut. If not, you can probably cut some out using a utility knife. Now I bought these little stencil pieces. It came in a 3-pack from Michael's on clearance, and come with a little finger dauber and an ink pad, and I just stenciled snowflakes all over these little hats and mittens until I thought it looked just perfect. And once that was all done, of course, I washed those off with a little bit of soap and water and put those aside. And now we are going to use some snowballs from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to give them a good fluffing up. And then you'll find a center place, and that's where you'll put the hot glue and attach them right onto those pumpkin stems. I thought that was the perfect place to put those. Now, if you don't have these pumpkins, again, you could either use some balsa wood and cut some out, or you could, and you didn't have to cut out pumpkins, you could just cut out little hats, or you could use some really thick cardboard and make them. And I think that little snowball is the perfect little topper to my hat. But it still needed something else, so I grabbed some of this twine, and this came on from clearance at Michael's as well. And I am just going to wrap this around, adding a little bit of hot glue just to keep it in place, and we'll add the hot glue in several different spots along the sides and the edges. And then I'm going to wrap this around on top of itself so that it stays in place, probably 4 or 5 times to give it the little base that I wanted. And I'll trim that off, and then glue that back down so that it stays in place. Now, if your twine is frayed, you can always take a lighter and kind of singe off those little frayed edges, unless you like that look, and then you can leave those on there and it just adds to the whimsy of this decor. I love the way that turned out, but I think I need just a little bit of more hot glue just to keep those in place where I want them. Then I am going to take my handy dandy little brown ink pad and just rustic up those edges just a little bit until I have it looking the way I want, and then I will set that aside and we will do the other hat. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take one of those snowballs and kind of fluff it out and poke a hole there in the middle and add a little bit of hot glue and stick that right on top of my little pumpkin stem. Now, if you don't have any of these little snowballs hanging around, you can always take some yarn and your little pom-pom makers from Dollar Tree, or use your hands or a little bit of cardboard, however you want to make a pom-pom, and you could just make up a pom-pom, and then it'll be any color you wanted. I wanted these to have that contrast between that moss color and the green. Now for these mittens, I'm going to take one of these floor mop pieces, and they have these sections where it's cloth so you can cut without having to cut all that fluffy stuff. And I'm going to cut off a slice of that, and then I will wrap that around the top of my mittens with a little bit of hot glue. When I cut this piece in half, though, you will get all those little fluffy edges, so get ready to get those cleared out before you glue everything down. But I thought that was the perfect little topper to those mittens, and it just gave the right amount of fluff, I thought. If you don't have this, you could use faux fur, or you could use one of the Dollar Tree chamois things, or you could even take some yarn to match the pom-poms you made for the hats and crochet little edges for your mittens. But I thought this just looked so perfect. And we're gonna try to find a good place to cut this without making too much of a mess. But no matter where you cut it, there's still going to be some of that stuff that comes off. So just be prepared for that. I was also thinking too that if you didn't want a stencil on your hat and your mittens, you could always do a decoupage with some napkins or some paper, you know, whatever's going to match your style, whatever you have around. The easiest way to make this cheap is to use stuff you've already spent money on instead of having to go out and buy some new things. That we've got that all cut, we are going to grab our hot glue and just run a bead of hot glue all the way around the edge of the top and along the sides, and let's get the front situated down. And you can put this as high or low as you want depending on, you know, what look you're going for. And then we will grab a little bit more hot glue and glue it along the back, and that way, you know, the front and the back are both equally desirable to be seen, as you can hang these or place them on your tiered tray. Now I thought the fluff was just a little bit too long, so I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here in just a minute, and I am going to give my little cuff there a haircut. So I was wondering, what kind of resolutions are you guys planning for this upcoming year? You know, it always is easier to keep them, I think, if you make them public. So one of my resolutions for this upcoming year is to try to use more of the craft supplies I already have in my supply closet, and purchase less supplies this year. What do you guys think? What are some of your resolutions for the upcoming year? And once we've got our second one on, I just think they all turned out so adorable. What do you guys think? I did add a little bit of that rustic look with my brown ink pad. Now, if you don't have that, you can use antique wax. a little dab of that, or if you have those Tim Holtz distress things, of course you can use those too. And here's our final look at all three of today's projects. I just love them all so much. It was really hard for me to pick a favorite this week. Because I love them all for different reasons. The whimsy of the little birds, and just the beautifulness and winter look of that pine cone, and the simple, fluffy, feels like a warm hug wrapped around you with the little mittens and hats. Which one was y'all's favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And also, tell me one of your resolutions. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really did enjoy our time together. Now, since you stuck around with me till the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. You are going to need some lamb's ear and some twigs from outside. But until then, make it a great day. Happy New Year's Eve and Happy Tuesday!